Um, Good afternoon. I'm Eddie Joyce, Minister of Service and L, Municipal Affairs, and Minister responsible for Workplace and L. Today I'm joined by the Honourable Dwight Ball, Premier of Newfoundland and Labrador, Mr. Doug Cadigan, President of IAFF Local 1075, the St. John's Firefighters Association, who is representing cancer firefighters, career firefighters, Mr. Duane Antle, President of the Newfoundland and Labrador Association of Fire Services, who is representing volunteer firefighters, and Mr. Dennis Hogan, Chief Executive Officer of Workplace NL. I would also like to recognize Dave Burry, past President of the St. John's Firefighters Association, and Deanne Howe, Director of Policy and Planning and the Department of Advanced Education and Skills, Mr. Derek Simmons, also the Fire Commissioner. These individuals have done an incredible amount of work on this file, and I would like to thank them for their effort. Thank everybody for joining us here today for today's announcement. I know some of you have traveled great distances to be here, and your presence is greatly appreciated. Today we're marking an important announcement and will satisfy a key election commitment for our government and complete a significant task with our own mandate letter. I would now turn the proceedings over to Premier Ball to make that announcement.
Minister Joyce, and thanks everyone for coming out today and joining us in this announcement. So I'm pleased not only to be joined by career, but also by volunteer firefighters from all over the province to make an announcement that we've been seeking now, or that you've been seeking now for over a decade. In recent years, there's been a lot of scientific study regarding the higher incidence of cancer amongst firefighters. There's been lots of discussion about the dangers posed by fighting fires, both in homes and industrial settings. In these settings, there may be consumer goods or industrial products that produce dangerous carcinogens while they burn. We were just having a chat upstairs with the group at the table, things like vinyl siding and so on. These are things that firefighters face on a daily basis. Since 2003, provincial firefighters have lobbied for coverage under the Workplace Health and Safety Commission Act that respond to those realities. Statutory reviews of our province's Workplace Health and Safety Commission, both in 2006 and 2013, supported their calls for more support, but the recommendations were not acted on. While firefighters throughout Newfoundland and Labrador were advocating for change, most other provinces in Canada added this kind of coverage to their workplace health and safety benefits. I saw this as a significant issue and made the concerns of firefighters a focus of our election platform last year. Upon election, I gave Eddie, Minister Joyce, a mandate to work with stakeholders to bring forward legislation to protect firefighters in our province. So I'm pleased to say that he has advanced this file quickly, and under his leadership and his guidance, our government consulted, we collaborated, and we finally completed the work to achieve what firefighters have waited for a long time. So, ladies and gentlemen, I am proud to announce that today our government will advance an amendment to the Workplace Health and Safety and Compensation Act and regulations to provide presumptive cancer coverage for our province's career and volunteer firefighters. Adding a presumptive clause to our legislation means a firefighter who serves for a specified period of time and develops a specified form of cancer is presumed to have developed that cancer as a consequence of their work. This benefit will help firefighters by speeding up and simplifying the process to have this specific type of claim approved. So I'm pleased to note that this new benefit will not increase assessment rates currently paid by employers who fund the workers' compensation system. In fact, last month, the average assessment rate changed to employers to Workplace NL. That was reduced by 6% from $2.20 to $2.06 per $100 of assessment payroll. This actually put $11 million back into employers. So with this legislative amendment today, qualifying firefighters will receive wage loss benefits, medical aids, and certain other benefits through Workplace NL, while health care costs associated with firefighters' cancer treatment, well, that will be paid through the MCP program. We structured benefits in this way to reduce demand on Workplace NL Injury Fund. For firefighters to qualify for the benefit, they will need to submit documentation that includes their term of service, the nature of their work, and the number of times they fought fires in their career. I am pleased to note that staff from our own Fire and Emergency Services Division of Municipal Affairs will provide assistance to volunteer departments to ensure documentation practices used across the province that will meet the administrative needs of Workplace NL. So we look forward to pursuing this work in partnership with them. So I will conclude my remarks by noting how pleased that I am to go beyond the election commitment that our government made last year. The original commitment was to provide coverage to career firefighters. So as I mentioned earlier, I'm proud to have exceeded that commitment by including all volunteer firefighters as well. We worked hard to make this possible because our province relies quite heavily on the tremendous work of those volunteers. So I want to thank Mr. Cadigan, not minister yet, Mr. Antle, all firefighters, Workplace NL, Minister Joyce, and I can tell you, I spoke to Eddie quite often about this, and his passion and his commitment to get this done was certainly very obvious through this year. Thank government staff. We rely quite heavily on staff to keep those initiatives moving, so thank you to the staff. And everyone else who played a role in making this benefit possible for all firefighters in our province. The legislation that we are bringing forward today is another example of how our government listens to people and then creates the beneficial change with their feedback. So we look forward to working with firefighters to spread the news about this new benefit and to making vital benefits available to firefighters who need them. On a personal note, I will say that throughout my own district and as I've went around the province, you know, the impact of both career firefighters and volunteer firefighters around this province is obvious. I can't think what our communities would be like without having those career firefighters and volunteers playing such an active role. So as Premier, on behalf of all the residents, thank you very much for the job that you do every single day in protecting residents and certainly the property of residents as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Premier Ball. I want to take this opportunity to briefly provide some details about how this new benefit will roll out. This coverage will cover 11 different types of cancer, which has been outlined in the press release associated with this announcement. This new coverage will come in effect on January 1st, 2017, with coverage for career firefighters being retroactive to approximately 1 year back to December 14th, 2015. The retroactivity reflects our election commitment to provide presumptive cancer to career firefighters. For firefighters to qualify for this new coverage, they will have to submit documentations that will include their terms of service, the nature of their work, and the number of times they fought fires in their career. The benefits provided by Workplace NL are rebuttable, meaning a claim can be denied if there is persuasive evidence the cancer was caused by something other than employment as a firefighter. This approach is standard practice across the 10 other provinces that have already introduced this coverage. It was recommended in the 2013 statutory review, and it simply ensures the benefits are distributed appropriately. I share the Premier's pride in being able to extend these benefits to the firefighters in this province, including approximately 350 active career firefighters and 5,900 active volunteer firefighters. Working with Doug Cadigan, Duane Antle, and others representatives from firefighters organizations on this issue has been a wonderful experience. They are great people who know how to come together and work for their greater good. An excellent example is that the career firefighters of the St. John's Regional Fire Department helping their voluntary counterparts advance new training. Specifically, the St. John's Regional Fire Department has committed to provide information and training to volunteers regarding the Wellness Fitness Initiative for their programs. This initiative delivers a preventative and occupational health care services program for days firefighters and emergency medical workers. Firefighting has evolved significantly over the years, and this program is a part of a new practice and a new training that is aimed at reducing the chances that firefighters get hurt on the job or develop occupational illness later in life. I commend Mr. Cadigan, Mr. Antle, and the firefighters in this province for the way that they come together to share their resources, protect their communities, and serve the greater good. I would now provide an opportunity to Mr. Cadigan and Mr. Antle to have a few words. So, Mr. Cadigan.
I wish to start by acknowledging a number of groups present here today for this monumental announcement. Members both past and present of the Steering Committee for Presumptive Cancer for Career Firefighters, consisting of firefighters from St. John's Regional Fire Department represented by IFF Local 1075, Cornerbrook firefighters also represented by the IAFF, Stephenville firefighters represented by the IAFF, Conception Bay South represented by CUPE, and the airport, St. John's Regional Airport Authority represented by PSAC. I'd like to acknowledge management representatives from these jobs and employer representatives who have given their unwavering support in this endeavor. I also want to mention the St. John's Regional Fire Department Retirees Association, the Atlantic Provinces Professional Firefighters Association, the Federation of Labour, and the IAFF, whose relentless commitment to health and safety of firefighters has benefited for firefighters from all areas regardless of status or representation. This legislation is not about career versus volunteer or management versus union. This is about protecting those who protect others. This government, under the leadership of Premier Dwight Ball and his Minister Eddie Joyce, has done just that and delivered the strongest presumptive cancer legislation in Atlantic Canada. This journey to this day has been long and filled with frustration. Despite a mountain of irrefutable scientific evidence and 2 statutory review recommendations, the firefighters' plea for just treatment was not heard. Then Opposition Leader Dwight Ball and his colleagues, including Eddie Joyce, heard the plea and in November of 2015 took a stand and delivered a commitment to firefighters. And Dwight Ball personally committed to me that within 1 year of taking office, the legislation would get done. Premier Ball, Minister Joyce, you are people of your word and friends to the firefighting community. Commitment made, commitment delivered. Thank you.
As Doug pointed out, this conversation started a long time ago, and a tremendous number of people have given a lot to see us get to this day. A year ago, when myself and the minister had our first conversation about this, it was a mountain to climb. A tremendous amount of work had been done by our association in the past, and just a mountain of scientific evidence was produced by the IAFF that showed how real this situation was and how important this legislation would be. And it's not all scientific. As Doug pointed out in his comments, it doesn't matter if you're a career or a volunteer, you face the same hazards. And I think more importantly, what we need to understand is this legislation, Mr. Premier, that you've given us today, it doesn't just affect the uniform. It affects the families of all of those uniforms that are waiting at home. And when a firefighter goes out and serves his community or her community, and something bad does happen, the last thing that a family should have to worry about is how we're going to pay for our home. What you've done today has taken us so far that I don't know how really to thank you. And Premier Ball, you and your government listened. You didn't just listen, you understood the valuable contribution that volunteers and career firefighters make to their communities each and every day when they go out. And making this commitment, I think it speaks volumes of your commitment, not only to the people who serve our province, but to the people who support them at home. And I want to say a very sincere thank you to you for making this happen. You know, Minister Joyce, he said to me at our first conversation, this conversation will continue. And I really didn't know what to expect, and the conversation didn't just continue, it continued and continued and continued. To get a call at 10:30 in the night, you know, to discuss a development as this process was moving along, it spoke volumes to me about the commitment that the minister had made. And there's a lot of people who need to be congratulated today on this piece of work. Premier, you and your team have you've done something very tremendous for firefighters in this province today, and I think we're going to lead as an example as to what needs to be done right across Canada. Thank you for your contribution and your hard work.